EA Sports steps into the cage with their first UFC game, but does it have what it takes to knock out the competition? Or will it tap out in the first round? The first thing that has to be said about this game is that it looks gorgeous. The fighters look incredible, it looks really authentic, the cage looks great, the advertisements, the movements, the tattoos, everything looks just like you'd expect on television, down to the referees, the lighting. It really is an outstanding achievement, and you can really see why they only went for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions. The in-game fighting also does a fairly good job of replicating what you'd see on a pay-per-view. It does, however, have a few problems. For instance, I found the punching kind of lacked any kind of real impact sometimes. Sometimes it would look like you knocked someone's block off, but they wouldn't really move. Sometimes you'd hit them with a tiny punch and it would knock them out. I suppose this kind of does emulate the random nature of some UFC fights, but I really wanted to see some massive haymaking blows that would knock people sideways. You can literally do anything a genuine UFC fighter can do. You can do any kind of kick, any kind of parry, punches obviously low to the body, you can take people down. The problem is that this does mean that the control system is quite difficult to get your head around when you first start playing. If you persevere with it, it can really lead to some tense battles and matchups, but it's not the kind of game you can bring somebody who's new to the game and play a 1 versus 1 game and it be even. You know, if you've put some time in, you are going to be able to destroy someone who hasn't. That being said, it does lead to a much better gaming experience than, say, just a random button masher. You do have to take care of your stamina, you have to take care of your movement, submissions, that kind of thing. The right stick deals with transitions and submissions, not unlike the THQ UFC games. Transitions and submissions are somewhat of a mixed bag, as the movement of the stick has to be quite precise, and the submission minigame can either be one of two things. It can be a very tense game where you're not sure if you're going to escape the submission, but more often than not it just turns into a bit of a boring slog where you're just kind of like, I know I'm going to get out because this submission takes a very long time. It would have been much better if occasionally you could get a fast submission, a quick tap out, because that quite often happens in fights. The main meat of the single player is the career mode, where you take a created fighter and put him through the Ultimate Fighter competition and onto the UFC. This mode is again a little lacking because the created fighter isn't very complex, and the fight system once you're in the game is they offer you a fight, you have to take it. You do mini games to train yourself up, and then you fight until you become the champion. Then you defend, and in between fights you often get little FMV videos from, say, Dana White saying good fight, or you know, that was a tough loss, or UFC fighters. I really think it would have been a better game had they offered more single player modes, such as I don't know, classic fights where you're in round 3 of this fight that happened on this date, and now see if you can reverse history or something. Just something to add a bit to it. At the moment, it's a very, very good game. It's worth playing. It's a good shot for a first go. But I'm really hoping that they take what's been good from this and improve upon it for the next game, because no doubt there will be another one. It's not quite a knockout, but it isn't terrible. I'd give it about a 7 out of 10.